All right, today we're jumping into this incredible story. Think intense family drama, high stakes political moves, and a kingdom literally on the edge of civil war. It's really a story about what happens when leaders fail, but also, and this is the important part, where we can find hope in those really chaotic moments.
Why is it that transitions of power so often just explode into chaos? It's a question that feels like it could be ripped from today's headlines, right? But it's thousands of years old. When a leader who's been around forever starts to fade, what rushes in to fill that vacuum? Well, it's usually not peace and quiet. It's ambition, it's conflict, it's total chaos.
And this is not a one-time thing. History is just littered with these messy handoffs. You see it with an insecure king like Saul, who literally starts hunting his own successor, David. Or, think about it, when corrupt sons inherit all this authority but have none of the character to handle it. And you definitely see it when a new king's pride ends up fracturing an entire nation. It's this high-stakes, recurring pattern that just keeps happening. So that brings us to this story. It's one of the most dramatic transitions ever recorded. And what it reveals about human nature, and maybe more importantly, what it reveals about how we can find a way forward when it feels like everything is falling apart, well, it's just fascinating. Okay, so let's set the scene. The story kicks off with a kingdom in total crisis. You've got this legendary king right at the end of his life, and his silence has created this dangerous power vacuum. And believe me, someone is more than ready to fill it. And here's the central conflict right here. On one side, you have King David. He's old, he's weak, he's basically checked out. And on the other side, his son, Adonijah. Look at the contrast here. While David is silent, Adonijah is all action. He doesn't wait. He just comes out and says, "I will be king." Talk about bold. So you have to ask, how did it even get to this point? Well, a lot of it, and this is crucial, comes down to David's own leadership style, or lack thereof. His inaction basically created the perfect storm for entitlement to grow completely unchecked. And this single line from the text is just, wow, it's devastating. It says his father had never once rebuked him. Think about that. David, this mighty warrior king, was a completely passive parent. He never confronted Adonijah, never corrected him, never said no. He never even asked the simple question, "Hey, why are you doing this?" And that silence, that passivity, it created a void. You see, Adonijah's ambition wasn't just some personal failing. It was a direct result of the leadership vacuum his own father had allowed to form. When leadership takes a step back, you better believe entitlement is going to take a huge step forward. And Adonijah, he isn't just ambitious, he's smart. He's politically savvy. Just look at who he didn't invite to his little coronation party. He leaves out Nathan the prophet, basically God's moral voice in the kingdom. He snubs Benaiah, the military commander who is fiercely loyal to David. And of course, the biggest one, he doesn't invite his own brother Solomon, the guy who was actually promised the throne. He knew exactly who held the real power, and he cut every single one of them out. So with this rogue coronation already happening, a few key players realize that if they don't act like right now, the entire kingdom is going to be lost. So they cook up this desperate, high-stakes plan to try and force the old king's hand. And the way this unfolds is just brilliant. It's a carefully staged intervention. You've got Nathan, the master strategist, who sends in Solomon's mother, Bathsheba, first. Her job is to gently remind the fading king of the promise he made. Then, just as she's finishing her plea, Nathan himself walks in to confirm the news and really apply the pressure. It's this perfect 1-2 punch designed to finally jolt David out of his inaction. And Nathan's question here, man, it is just gut-wrenching. He's basically asking, so, did you just let the kingdom fall apart without telling any of us? Is this it? Has your silence finally brought everything down? It's this moment of incredible confrontation that just lays bare the catastrophic cost of David's passivity. And guess what? The plan works. David finally acts, and he sets the stage for one of the most dramatic scenes you can imagine. 2 coronations, happening at the exact same time for 2 different kings, both vying for the same throne. So, in one part of the city, Adonijah and all his powerful supporters are celebrating. They're feasting, they're drinking, they're shouting, "Long live King Adonijah." In his mind, it's a done deal. The coup is a success. The throne is his. But then, they hear something. A noise from across the city. And it's not just any noise.
The text says the sound was so loud that the ground shook with it. It's the sound of a massive party, this deafening roar of instruments and shouting.
And in that single moment, their party just grinds to a halt because they realize that sound isn't for them. While Adonijah was throwing his victory feast, David's loyal crew was carrying out his final order, the swift, official, and very loud coronation of the true heir, King Solomon.
And as soon as the news is confirmed, Adonijah's support just evaporates. His allies, who were just moments ago celebrating their new king, they just get up and scatter in fear. His entire power base, built on ambition and his father's silence, collapses in an instant. But hold on, the story doesn't end with the failed coup, not even close. The real climax is what happens next, because all that chaos gives way to this profound test of character, and it reveals this little flicker of hope right inside the mess. Adonijah, completely terrified, runs to the altar, which was a sacred place of refuge, and he's literally clinging to its horns, begging for his life. So Solomon's very first act as the new king is to decide what to do with the brother who just tried to steal his throne. Talk about a first day on the job. And Solomon's response is it's incredible. He doesn't go for immediate revenge. Instead, he offers mercy, but with a condition. This is what we call measured strength. It's grace, but it has a boundary. It's peace, but it's paired with clarity. This right here is the essence of mature leadership. It's not about having power. It's about the wise restraint of that power.
And this is why this story matters so much. It's not just about remembering some facts from history. True learning, as this slide kind of shows, is about understanding how to respond. The real value is in looking at a crisis and evaluating the character of the response so that maybe we can learn to act with that same wisdom and restraint when our own worlds feel like they're falling apart.
And this idea of responding to a crisis not with raw power, but with this kind of disarming wisdom, it's such a powerful theme. Solomon's measured strength is actually a fascinating preview of another, even more profound story about grace under pressure. Just think of that story in the Gospel of John, right, where the religious leaders drag this accused woman out in public to use her as a political trap for Jesus. They try to force him to choose between the strictness of the law and total mercy, but he refuses to play their game. Instead, he offers both grace and truth. He says, "Neither do I condemn you, now go and sin no more." You see? In both stories, the leader's first move isn't to crush the opposition, but to create space for a better outcome, one that combines mercy with real accountability. And that's what brings it all back to us, doesn't it? Because finding hope amidst failure isn't really about waiting for everything to be perfect. It's about how we choose to act right inside the mess. So the question the story leaves us with is this: where in your own life are things less than ideal? And how might you be invited to respond, right there, in the middle of it all, with grace, with trust, and with courage?